Welcome back to Goddess State, where we are creating divine realities and building global brands through identity work and feminine energy healing. Today, I'm so excited for our guest, Elena, who is a feminine energy coach and an ex Wall Street girly. So I would love for her to share with you the message that she has on her heart, which is all about feminine empowerment and getting centered in your body. And feminine energy is the new strategy. So, Elena, hello. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank
How
you
are
so
you?
much for inviting me. I'm so excited for this conversation. It's
Me
totally my
too.
jam. I do want to speak about feminine energy because it is a new strategy. That is what I believe in. Because for many, many years, I worked on Wall Street in strategy, in strategy departments of various divisions. And I was this woman who was high achieving and doing all of the things, very much in a masculine energy of logic, structure, doing, hustling, achieving. When I realized that what got me to a point where I was in my mid 30s, checked all the boxes on all the things, I realized what got me there will not get me to that next level. And for that next level, I needed something else. I needed to activate something else within me. And I was searching. I think I was born a seeker. I always wanted to know the deeper truth behind everything. Since I was a little girl, I was asking big questions that I remember my mom sharing with me. And when I achieved a lot of different things, living in New York City, working on Wall Street, I realized there's a huge missing link that women are missing because we've never been taught these things. We're born into this world with amnesia, not remembering where we came from, why we're here, what are we here for. And subconsciously, we're all looking for these answers. We're longing for these answers. And we try to find them outside of ourselves. We try to find them in our achievements, in our careers, in our relationships, even in like marriages and motherhoods. Like we're looking for it, but we're only going to find it when we're going to get connected back to our truth, ourselves, our soul. So that's what I'm here to help women remember and bring
I
them
love that.
to themselves.
What, thank you for sharing that. What brought you to Wall Street to begin with? You were like this high achieving hustle woman, wanted to climb the corporate ladder. What even brought you into that space?
Yeah, it's a great question because recently I was connected to that version of me that made those decisions to go on Wall Street. So I came to America when I was 17 years old from a former Soviet Union. And I grew up in a lot of fears and a lot of conditioning and a lot of actually poverty. Like I didn't feel like that when I was there, but comparing to the way I live now or the way my kids are living, like I was day and night. So when I came at 17, I didn't know English. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any connections. I knew nothing. I had nothing. And in that moment, I made a decision that I want to live an American dream. I want to have things. I want to travel the world. I want to buy what I want. I was very much into fashion and style. And like I wanted to be in a creative arts, but I didn't have any mentors. At that point, somebody made me like somebody suggested, well, if you want to make money, go into business school and go on Wall Street. I'm like, what? And because I grew up in Russia, I was really good in math. Like math was my thing. I'm a Scorpio. And I have a lot. I'm a Scorpio
Nice.
rising, so I have a lot of like Scorpio energies and a lot of Libra energies. You know my chart.
Yeah, I do.
So I had like, oh, I'm great with numbers. I can be great with money. And so I went on Wall Street. I went to business school and I was searching like what major should I take? And people like, well, if you're good with math, go into finance. And I got myself through business school while I was waiting on tables. I paid for my own private school in New York. And when I graduated with honors, I got into Wall Street in a very prestigious investment bank. And I just stayed there because um, I had I had what it takes to be there. Like I loved the structure and the masculine side of it at certain point. But then like 10 years in, I realized like I am climbing the wrong ladder. I'm, I'm not feeling fulfilled. Yes, I have money in the bank account. Yes, and I can afford things, but it's not where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life. Like I was really looking and missing for something. So what I realized and why I started to say that I started to reconnect with that 17, 18 version of me that made those decisions that we're going to get on Wall Street, we're going to achieve, we're going to prove. It was a coping mechanism. It was a surviving strategy. And
Hmm.
that's what I feel right now, working with so many high achieving women that they don't have to be immigrants. They don't have to do like have my background the way I came through, but women that are high achieving, and high achieving, not necessarily that you have an MBA like I do, or like you've been a CEO of something. High achieving is it's not just the title, it's like operating system within you. It's like a paradigm within you that you at some point in your life, and usually it happens when we're little. It may happen like when you were 8 or whatnot. We create a story that we are only worthy when we are productive. We are only worthy when we achieve. We are only worthy when we have these accolades. And usually, yes, it starts with our parents, maybe saying, good girl, when you got an A. The father saying, oh, that's my girl when you achieved in sports. You know what I mean? Like we start being praised for and feeling worthy and validated when we achieve things, right? So that surviving strategy, yes, it gets us far, but what I was started with this podcast saying, it cannot get us to that next level where we're going, especially with everything that's happening on the planet, with women awakening, rising, getting into feminine leadership. You need a different skill set. And sometimes it's like you need to reprogram yourself from inside out to activate those other faculties within you, the feminine faculties, which is intuition and magnetism being the most important ones.
And did this awakening happen suddenly when you were working in Wall Street, or was it kind of gradual? Because you said you gave 10 years of your life there. So was it
Yeah,
just like, okay, I can't do this anymore?
yeah. Well, more than 10. I think I started to get those whispers um, around like 10 years in, around like, the Saturn return, around when you like around age of 30, right? You start
Yeah.
asking those questions. And by the age of 30, I was already VP, married, and had 2 kids. So talking about super achieving, right? Like I had all these things, but I had an awakening moments, I think, throughout my life, to be honest with you. Because I was on 9/11, I was in the Twin Towers 15 minutes before the planes hit. So right, so I was running away from those Twin Towers with then my boyfriend, now my husband of 20 years. We just started dating and we were together in the Twin Towers. So that was like the first awakening moment. And I was like early 20s. And I was like, wait, like, what is this reality? Because walking on Wall Street, weeks, days, weeks, months after that, like I felt the energy, like I started to feel these paranormal experiences within me. Then I had like my daughter, when she was born, like becoming a mother activated certain things within me, like an awakening, like real whispers, right?
Hmm.
But then what I also love to share the story, when I was on Wall Street, we had Deepak Chopra. You maybe have heard of this spiritual teacher, right? He's
Hmm.
a New York Times best-selling author. And he's also an MD, like he's actually also a doctor. He came to a corporate, we had this fireside chat, it was called, with one of our executives. And he was talking about enlightened leadership. What does it mean to be an enlightened leader? To be like a visionary, someone who hypnotizes and attracts people to themselves just based on their frequency. I don't know if you remember if you use those words, but based on like who you are, who you being, knowing who you are. Like he was talking about all these things, and I was taking notes, and I'm like, I am that. I'm feeling that. Like I'm meant to be an enlightened leader. But my reality, even though I managed the global team, even though I was a VP, I felt miles away from those qualities. I felt like they deeply, deeply asleep. So at the end of this presentation with Deepak, he offered to meditate with the audience. So I'm like, imagine me sitting on Wall Street in the audience of like 250 super achievers, mostly men. And all of a sudden we start meditating. I don't think anybody had an experience that I had an external experience at that point. I had like an almost out of body experience that I felt so vast. And meditation was very simple. He said, say, I am and your name. So you would say, I am Elena, or whatever your name is. Keep saying that. And then drop the name and keep saying, I am.
Mm.
Who are you when you're not a VP? when you're not a mother, when you're not a wife, when you're not a daughter, when you're not any of these masks and titles you're wearing, who are you really? And that in that moment, I had this out of body experience. I'm like, oh my God, I felt so light. Because when you're working in a very hustle culture, doing, achieving, you don't even have moments in your day where you can
Mm-hmm.
take a deep breath and contemplate on who you are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in that moment, I did. And when I came home to my husband at night, I said, there's something happened to me. I don't think I'll ever be the same. And in that moment, I want to say, like, it was my awakening, a gentle awakening, because for a lot of people, awakening can be very brutal, either Kundalini awakening or some sort of a crisis, like a big catalyst, right? Like it's usually how people awake. I was more lucky because it was like through this whisper of Deepak Chopra. But I also want to say I was very ripe. I was looking for it. I was searching for it. I was ready for it. And I think it also has to do with like what my soul was here for. So right from that moment, I started to have spiritual teachers come into my life. Like nobody was really talking on Instagram about spirituality, about these things. This was 2015. So I started to like have books falling off the shelves. I would go to Barnes and Nobles on Wall Street and like have all these things come to my life. And I started to read Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Now was like my big book that's like really opened me up.
Nice.
And then I remember, oh my God, I read Alchemist like when I was 20. I read Conversation with God when I was 20. But it didn't register back then. It was kind of like more information. It did in a way, but not in a way that it started doing with me in my mid 30s. I started to read all these books and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my body. I am more than all of these things. And I started to remember that's what's happening. It's not that we're learning anything new. We are remembering something within us that's very ancient, very ancient. And this is the journey I wish anybody can take. This worth billions of dollars.
I
There's
agree.
no money that can compare to this wisdom when you awaken it within you. And I remember in that early in that journey, I read a quote by Rumi that said, the desire to know your soul will end every other human desire.
I
And
love
even
that.
though I love being a wife, a mother, in my goddess energies, playing, dressing up, traveling the world, I love all of that. But knowing my soul and healing my soul take precedence over anything else in my life. And I feel like for women that make that decision, that this becomes the number one priority, every single other human desire falls into place. This is how we just manifest by just being ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
And it makes me think of the quote, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Exactly.
So you have to be seeking something. And I think that the awakening happens after you have these feelings of like inner turmoil or something's not right.
Yeah.
So you also talked about going through burnout on Wall Street. Do you want to talk about how women are experiencing burnout as a result of overgiving, overfunctioning, overpleasing, and how they can get back into center and stop doing that?
Yeah. Well, it ties back to those wounds that we get early in our childhood that we somewhere decide, we get this belief that we're only worthy when we overgive, right? When we overperform, when we overdo all of these things, right? So it is about healing your inner child and understanding that your worth is not tied to any of that performance, right? So by being you, being fully in yourself and healing yourself and loving yourself, not just self-care, the real love and true love of you and understanding who you really are will heal that. And I feel like the burnout, that word, it's you can actually get burnout just sitting on a couch and doing nothing. The burnout comes from being disconnected from your higher self and from your soul because you're literally burning your life force by doing things that are like not in alignment with you. So the minute you get into alignment, I right now in my conscious business as a coach, as a creator, I work more, if you were to think like by hours, than I worked on Wall Street, and I worked crazy hours on Wall Street, but it doesn't feel at all like work. It
Hmm.
feels who I am. It's an extension of me. My brand is me, right? So you only burn out when you are disconnected from you. I think, I don't know, like health department registered like thousands and thousands of different diseases that we have on the planet. I say we only have one. The one disease is being disconnected from a higher self. Then everything else is just a consequence and a ripple effect.
Yeah. And how would you tell people to get into alignment? Because I feel like it's easy to say, but
Yes,
it's much harder to actually
yes.
figure out how to do.
It is because from early age we taught not to trust our intuition. So little by little we shut it down, right? Like I think we're born with more of like abilities, and then depending on our parents, right? Maybe sometimes, oh, I saw things, or I felt things, or my dream said something. Usually our caregivers start saying, oh, don't be silly. Don't be silly. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's nothing here. It's not, like, a little by little we start shutting it down. And then as an adult woman, sometimes intuition is not comfortable. Like if my intuition was telling me to leave Wall Street, it's not comfortable to live, to shut down that part of me, to leave what I've built, the career I've built, like that golden cage, to walk out of that golden cage, right? The intuition tells you that, but you have to be also brave to follow that, right? So rebuilding that trust with yourself has to be done little by little. Sometimes, yes, it's those big decisions. Like I remember when I went to Glastonbury, which is a very, like, it's a sacred site, which I reconnected a lot with my feminine energy. It's in UK. It's like near Stonehenge. I reconnected with those parts of me that were very ancient, very divine feminine, like my priestess kind of lifetimes. And when I came back on home to New York, I went straight to my manager's office and I resigned. I said, I'm gonna leave. I didn't leave right away because she was like, let's create an exit strategy. Where are you going?
Yeah.
She was shocked. I'm like, okay, let's create the exit strategy. But I was like, I was ready. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going into this unknown. I don't know what's on another side, but if I follow my intuition, if I jump off that hill, the one who I'm becoming will pick me up, right? The wings will open up if it's really meant for me to be. So it is sometimes hard to listen to that intuition because it's uncomfortable. So we try to shut it down. And I see women when they come to me, when they go through some sort of a crisis of sorts, I'm like, well, you waited for the life to serve you its hand. I'm sure you heard those whispers of intuition before, maybe about in your relationships, in your career, in your health, but we're like, it's uncomfortable, so we look away.
Mm.
So the minute you make a decision, which you the only one who can make that decision, that I'm gonna follow that inner voice, and you start building it like a muscle. You just follow, okay, should I turn left or right? Should I buy this or that? Should I eat this? Like little decision, little by little, and then you start building that trust within you. And there's nothing more important for women to rebuild that self-trust, because you literally have the inner oracle, inner mentor, inner coach, divine guidance built in within you. You no longer need to rely on tarot cards, psychics, books, podcasts. You have you.
I work with a lot of women, and myself included, actually, who have made big decisions in life and based on intuition. And then they ended up leading us the wrong way. And I quote wrong because maybe we encountered new obstacles that we were not anticipating, or maybe our life got worse as a result of following that intuition.
Yeah.
What would you say in those cases? Like, did we follow the wrong guidance, or did we actually end up following our intuition to a sort of karma that was already built into life that we had to go through? Because that's kind of what I'm going through right now, where I'm like, damn, like I did it. I followed my intuition. I did what my higher self was saying. And then I'm experiencing this. And I'm like, why? Is it written in the stars for me to need to go through this karma now? What would you share about that?
It's a great question. I have to tell you, I've been contemplating it a lot, because it feels
Yeah.
like a paradox of
Yeah.
sorts. It's like both things are true, because it's hard to know was it intuition or was it fear that
Mm,
made you make certain decisions in life? Like, were you following, was it to really the voice of intuition, or was it a voice of conditioning, programming, past life experiences, karma, whatever, right? Sometimes it's very hard to discern. And I think for all of the light workers, all the women that are into spirituality and all of these things, the number one skill that we have to really work on is the discernment. Because even within spiritual circles, there is a lot of false light and there's a lot of like deceiving information. This is what I understood too, because I did follow certain things which kind of derailed me. But then when I listened to it, like, was it really? But remember, you kind of felt that maybe it's not the right thing, but you still did that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, if it usually makes sense in a hindsight, whether you
Yeah.
actually made the right decisions. But I will tell you this, you're gonna waste a lot of energy trying to think like, oh, did I make those right decisions or not? Was it really meant to be or not? I would say that I believe in a free will, but I also believe in destiny. And the destiny is sort of like your point, you have to get from point A to point B in your life. Like, let's say you meant to meet this person, no matter what, you meant to meet this person, this partner, right? And you know how in a navigation system in a car, you put an address where you're going, you have to get to that point B. But sometimes you're like, oh, let me take off this exit. Let me take this. You know, sometimes you can derail and take the roads, but then your navigation system will be like recalculating, because you still need to get that point B, right? Or even in our businesses, like I knew I'm going to get to the point B where I'm going to become a coach, a healer, sharing this information. The human, it's uncomfortable for the human self. You're like, what are we going? No, no way, right? So it would create certain circumstances where it will push you away from it, or at least derail you, and maybe you lose 6 months playing around and not following that intuition, but eventually you will. So what I'm trying to say, there's actually at the end of the day, there's no wrong turns, because you will get to that point B that you need to get to. But unfortunately, and I don't like, sometimes people say that the universe is testing you. I don't really like to use those words, because I don't think universe is brutal like that to test us in anything. But we do have karma, and we need to, and especially now, these past few years, oh my God, like it felt so brutal. It's like it felt like end of the world. And it's like it's planetary. It's not just personal.
Yeah, I was gonna say Saturn's been in Pisces, so this
Yeah,
wrapping up of end of cycles is huge.
exactly. And it feels like, because right now we're closing loops and karma like for lifetimes and lifetimes. That's why it feels so intense. But I know in the next, maybe like 2026 will also look kind of intense. But I think we're going into this new cycle where we're going to thrive, when we're going to see the benefits of all the work that we've done for the past few years. I
Yeah,
know
it's going to be different because we're also in a year nine numerology. We're
that
also in the year
snake,
of the snake. So it's just been all so intense, death, rebirth,
exactly,
shedding. And so next
exactly.
year, 2026, we're going into the sun year. We're going into numerology one, where Saturn's going to be in Aries. Like there's so many like
Yeah,
driving
fire
forces of
horse
new, yeah, the
and lunar
horse, like
calendar.
it's yeah. So
Yes,
we're
yes,
definitely embracing new energy. Identity work
yes.
is going to be huge. But yeah, no, my question really came because I had a vision when I was younger of my life and what it should look like. And I think that in studying that, I kind of used my inner child's visions as intuition on where to go and what to do because I've always had these clairvoyant visions since I'm young. But
Mm,
I think that the message that I've been kind of teaching myself is you only had the vision. You didn't have the meaning of what the vision meant. So you followed it thinking maybe it was the right thing, but maybe you just had the glimpse because that's what happened and it didn't mean that it was like the right thing. It just was the thing. And so you followed it thinking it was the right thing. So yeah, it's just very quantum and meta and trying to create the meaning around those visions has been interesting for me.
I just wanted to
So
say, I think if you find the meaning, and there's a meaning in everything, and I know sometimes us spiritual girlies can really get into the meaning.
yes.
Oh, this song that I just listened on the radio, what does it mean? Oh,
Yeah,
this,
everything.
we find
Yeah.
messages and meaning in everything. And we'd be like, oh my God, I gotta get out of this rabbit hole because I'm just gonna get into the next one. And yeah, but That's the beauty of life. That's the beauty, because I think when we feel and live such deep lives, when we can distill the wisdom from every experience, there is no wrong decisions as long as you learn. And this is what the soul is here for, to evolve, right? Because that's what it wants to do. And we evolve through these challenges and sometimes setbacks and various emotions that we feel, and these people that come into our life, and then we want them to stay but they don't stay. Like, there's so many things that outside of our control, but the only thing that is in our control is how we react to it and what we make it to be and what we make it to mean. And I can find beauty in everything, like in everything. And I think when you get to a point when you forgive and find meaning and compassion, that you graduate to the next level. That's when you feel complete in that particular situational healing that you're experiencing.
There's a parable, I'm not sure if you've heard it, but I think it's like a parable about a man who has a lot of things happen to him, and people around him are like, "Oh, like your horse ran away. Like that's such bad luck." And he's like, "Maybe." And then they're like, "Oh, your horse came back. That's such good luck." And he's like, "Maybe." And then I think that the son fell off the horse, and then they're like, "Oh, your son fell off the horse. That's such bad luck." And he's like, "Maybe." And then the son ended up breaking the leg or something. And it turned out to be that the next week,
There was a
all
war.
sons were drafted for war. And then the son
Terrible.
couldn't go because they had a broken leg. And they're like, wow, you're so lucky. So it's kind of like meaning shifts based on
Yes.
perception. And I
Yes.
love that staying neutral in like the maybe. It's like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe I was clinging on to this hope that something would last when in reality, if I did last in that life, in a year from now, I would be dead or gone, or something worse would have happened. So we can't ever, cling to this meaning of what we thought should happen because, again, we don't know the grand scheme, the puppet master at play, and what's really happening.
Exactly. And
So,
I just inherited that belief that everything is working out for me. Like, everything is working out for me for the best, for the highest good. And yes, sometimes it can feel like the human self can be like upset, irritated that something doesn't happen, impatient, right? Like, where is it? Why we're not there yet? I feel like there is a higher guidance that's protecting me, that's guiding me, that the God sees things we don't see. And sometimes it removes people from our life and we don't think like why, and then later on we always realize why. It makes sense sometimes, again, like in hindsight.
yeah. And like you said, I think everything works out for you if you learn the lesson. And I think that's been a huge learning point for me is like, everything is working out for you and everything is going according to plan if you're learning the lessons. Because if you're stuck in a perpetual loop and a pattern and all of this, there's some sort of lesson or medicine that you need to revisit and then integrate and then, move forward with. But what would you tell women who are feeling like this abandonment wound? Because I know that you spoke about that in your work and healing the abandonment wound. What would you tell women who are going through some sort of forms of abandonment to heal that?
Yeah, I've said a lot with this wound, especially 2.5 years ago my mom passed away, and I needed to
Sorry to
reheal a
hear
lot of
that.
my inner child. Even though I healed my inner child before, I felt like I needed to go to that next. Talking about, sometimes we feel like we've completed something, but then it just takes us
Mm-hmm.
deeper and deeper and deeper through certain circumstances in life. And I'm very much into gene keys. And my vacation, I don't know if you know into gene keys, but my vacation is 40.6, and line 6 stands for like separation, like kind of feeling like you're not of this world. So I was going very deep into the abandonment movement. Like, where is it coming from? Like, so deep as to like think about what planet, what planet was I on? Like Lyra that blew up and I lost my home.
Wow.
Like, it goes so deep in my soul that it's not even about being abandoned in childhood and forgotten in daycare, which did happen to me.
Oh,
It goes so deep into my soul. And I realized the only way I could heal that is if I will never, ever abandon myself. Because if I will not abandon myself, nobody can. Nobody can. And I needed to really sit with myself, reparent myself, rebuild my relationship with God, meaning like that higher self, the soul, the source, that part of me can never be abandoned. Yes, the human, the inner child, various things, the boyfriend that rejected you, the friend that stopped talking to you, like all these things that happen to us in life, right? But at the end of the day, not that you want to completely detach from people. I love being with people. I love being a wife. I love being a mother. Like I love being a daughter. Like I loved people in my life. But I also understood that we all come here by ourselves and we're going to leave this place by ourselves. And at the end of the day, the only person we have is us. So my advice, a prayer for all of us is to never abandon ourselves. And that's abandonment of ourselves happen so subtle in so many different things. When we want to say no and we say yes, right? When we want to, outsource our feelings to someone else. When we don't want to sit to ourselves, we go shopping, we go numbing. It happens every single day, 100 times a day when we abandon ourselves. So it's
Yeah.
creating a ritual, a practice, something where you can be with you and love the company of yourself in those empty moments when nobody's around. How do you love yourself?
And I think this comes back to overgiving and overfunctioning and making sure that everyone else's needs are met versus our own. That's what hurts when people abandon
Yes.
us or friends or relationships or kids when you've grown up and they abandon you. You're like, but I gave you everything. I gave you
Exactly.
20 years of my life. And it's like that you need to think about how you want to raise your kids. And this is not just like as a parent, but like whoever is involved in your life, how can you be in relationship with them and still make sure that you are doing your hobbies, you are being creative, you're still accomplishing your goals so that you didn't lose yourself in relationships. And I think that that's the hardest thing because relationships kind of require bending and merging and morphing together to, compromise and accommodate depending, right? It depends on what kind of relationships and what kind of people you're working with. One of the quotes that really influenced me this year is give people what they want, don't give them what they need. And that's like a really quantum quote for me because I'm like, wow, like I've tried to give people what they need because I see it clearly, but sometimes it's not what they need is what they want. And so you have to like morph and kind of just give them what they want versus what they could get and what they should get and what they need. So yeah, it's just this idea of like there are some relationships, whether it's working, whether it's personal, where you have to give them what they want versus give them what they need so that they can grow at the pace that they're able to grow at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a great reflection, and I agree with you. And I have two children, and I often, as a mother, we overgive. It's just a very like it's like embedded in us because we're so
yeah,
nurturing, especially when you as a feminine woman, like we want to give, we want to nurture. But I also understood that it depends what from what state you give, because very often what I see, and it definitely happened to me, that when you give from an empty cup, when you don't fill your cup first and you give from the empty cup, you will have that feeling like, oh, I gave you something and you didn't pay me back, or you disrespected, or you don't appreciate. When you first give to yourself and then you give, and I love that analogy, I've heard it from someone I remember. When your cup is full and it's overflowing, what you give to others, you give it from a saucer. You don't give it from your cup. Your cup is always full. You give
that's
it from
nice.
your saucer. And when you give it from your saucer because you want to, people will receive it completely differently. And they will appreciate that. People that don't appreciate, and you think like your kids talk back, slam the door. Like I work with a lot of women that are like complaining that, well, my children don't respect me, or my children don't, don't, they're not emotionally available for me. They say things back to me, especially when they reach those teenage years. Like if you're gonna feel so fulfilled within you and don't abandon you and fill your cup first and then give it to your children, you're going to have a very different relationship with your children. And I see it so much because my daughter is now 20 years old, and the way she feel, like the way she is. I was definitely not like this when I was 18, 20 years old. The level of self-worth, the level of awareness, the level of emotional intelligence, the level of her being just at such a young age. And I know it has to do a lot with how I was going through this experience of healing myself and awakening the past 10 years. Because this child was only 10 years old when I was going through this journey, and now she's 20. This 10 years, everything that I did on
Mm,
me sometimes saying, I'm not available this right now. I need an hour to meditate. They were they're always fine. Everything works out.
yeah.
Right? Like everything, I'll cook you a meal when I'm like, you know what I mean? Like everything works out when you choose the healing path. Your children will be so much better off than you think, oh, I cannot go on a retreat, or I cannot invest money in myself, or I can, like you always say that your family needs more. Yes, your family needs it, but you need it more. And your family will benefit from you doing the work much more. I see it in me, and I see it in every single client I work with. They realize after them investing in themselves, the ripple effect to the children is that much greater than when they think they need to overgive them and do not go on a 3-day retreat.
Yeah, because you're
Every
setting an
single mother that
example.
came from a retreat that I had, husband send me love note, like the thank you notes. Everybody's happy because that woman, she found herself and she became so much better with herself. So she now a better mother, a better partner, a better lover for her husband. Like all of these things, it changes women from the inside out.
And that's what it means to have a strong self-concept. It's like everyone in your reality is kind of reflecting back to your self-concept.
Exactly.
So, what would you say for women who are consistently attracting avoidant or unavailable men? What does that say about their self-concept? That
And
they, yeah.
again, it ties back to, if they're avoiding you, what are you avoiding in yourself? Because every single relationship is a mirror, and sometimes it's hard to see it because we don't see our subconscious mind, which is 95% of who we are, that huge blind spot. Because you'll be like, oh, I know myself consciously, which is only 5% of you, and why would I track this? Because it's hard to explain it. But because your reality is run by your subconscious mind, which is 95% of who you are, there's so many programs that could be sitting there that repel men. And usually in the high achieving women, I find that the same traits that made them successful are the same traits that repel those men. Because if you are the one who's in control, this queen can do everything on her own, and this man comes into your life, he's like, what can I give to this woman? She figured it out all by herself. And she bosses me around.
I've noticed with high achieving women, they keep a lot of them, yes, are in that state where like they overpower the men and they're high functioning in their relationships. But the ones that are successfully high achieving, I've noticed that they have men who are maybe as equally as high
Yes.
achieving, and then they can just, soften into the relationship. And so those
That's the
women are
goal.
often like, my money is my money and your money is my money. And what do you think about that dynamic?
Actually, this is the dynamic I had with my husband when we got married. I always had my own banking account. I didn't change my last name. And it was like before all these like feminine empowerment kind of thing. This is what just like how we were. And the money that he made is like, this is the money for the kids. This is money for vacations. Like I use my money a lot on like, because I was so much into fashion and style. Like I was dressing up the whole family. I was spending money on all the interior design, like everything
Mhm.
beauty. Like so, like I have 4 planets in Venus, my Libra,
Libra, yeah.
right? Like everything related to aesthetics, beauty, dressing up, eating out, beauty, like all of that was me. But him was taking care of the most important thing, paying all the bills. So my money was always my money, and his money is our money.
So you agree with the dynamic then?
I like that dynamic. I liked it because I mean, I never paid for dinner ever in my life when I would go out with a man. Like I've never paid, I've never even offered it.
I
Maybe it's
love
also because of my Russian upbringing. It's like we don't do that. Men
I
pay
agree
for
with
dinners.
that. I feel like women's currency is their emotional care and their quantum connection. And I feel like men, I mean, it's in biology, right? Big
Yes,
muscles,
they
huge
they
ability to
want to.
work.
They actually
Yeah.
want to. I was talking to a client the other day, and she's like um kind of like where all of the American women are. Like we split in the bill at the dinner. It's like because she's like, what do I offer? Like I want to like what because I don't want to own, right? Like I'm also capable woman. She makes a great money. What do I offer? And I said, what you offer at the table, your radiance. And it's not that it's more than enough. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
No bill for dinner for $500, your expensive dinner, not even come close to what you can offer the table, which is your radiance. And men, in the presence of women that have high self-worth, that radiance, that know who they are, that I don't really like the term high value woman, but like women that are really embodied and connected to the essence, the feminine essence, the healed feminine energy. Men, they want to melt with these women. Like they want to give
Mm-hmm.
everything to this woman. They want to cherish them, protect them, support them, devour them. We actually activate man's highest potential and his divine masculine qualities when we are in our divine feminine energy. This is the gift we give them to pay
Mm-hmm.
for our dinner.
I agree. I completely agree. Oh, I love that. And I feel like you have to feel safe receiving that. You have to be
Yes.
in your receiving energy. So what does that look like for women who are like, no, 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 I'll cover it. Let me go half half. Let
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
split the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're wired like that. Again, it's going back to that inner child that maybe there were decisions that they made in life that's like, I'm not going to rely on man. I'm not going to give them that power. But maybe because they've seen a dynamic, maybe with the mother, that mother was codependent, right? Because there's a dynamic that actually hurtful that we think that if we give, because again, they're not all men that are healed. There are so many men that are wounded that we think that if we give in and they do these things for us, then we owe them, right? So there's a lot of these, like you have to heal your nervous system because it comes down to healing and feeling safe to receive without knowing that you have to pay back, let's say. But when you both heal, it's like 1 + 1 = 11, right? You like, I don't feel that we need. I love sacred unions. I think I believe in sacred unions where both, like you said earlier, when both men and women are successful in their own right. And it's not that they both have to be influencers and leaders and be known and be on stages. They can be in their own lane and successful in their own lane as long as they love what they do. Because there's a lot of men supporting these very successful leader women. And they love to take that next, like kind of like a role in the background, but they holding the energy because women protect and lead energetically,
Mm-hmm.
and men protect and lead physically. So for a lot of women, for us to really flourish in our feminine, it's important to have that masculine that can hold the container for us to flourish.
Yeah, and I think that they're born providers. I
Yes,
think that it's in their blood to want to
exactly.
provide.
Exactly.
And there's also, it's making me think of this global leader right now, Shira Seven. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she has a book called I Bring Nothing to the Table. And I
Okay.
think that's a great teaching for women. I bring nothing to the table except for myself.
Yes.
So,
I
yeah,
remember
and
meetings on Wall Street when I would be going to a meeting, like, I hope this is the meeting where I just sit pretty.
yeah.
I just want to sit pretty. I don't want to say, I don't want to contribute. I just want to, like, because it was so intense all the time. I'm like, I
hmm
just want to sit pretty. Yeah.
And I think that just for anyone asking, like, oh, how to get into receiving energy is not passive. It's an expectation energy of like, no, I expect this. I'm ready for this. I have open arms to receive this. My hands are open. And also, I'm prepared. So, whatever that preparedness looks like for you, if you're saying, like, oh, I'm ready to receive, um, whether it be monetary or I'm ready to receive 100 women in my coaching program. What does that look like in terms of being prepared to do that? That's receiving energy too. Like you're ready, you're expecting. Yeah, so that's for anyone wondering about receiving
Yeah, it's
energy.
it's sometimes it is doing the work in the background to then sit there and feel ready to receive, right? And it comes down again to your self-concept, to your self-worth, how much you feel that you deserve to receive, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm ready to receive, but then like, okay, let me do all these little steps because I'm not really trusting in the universe to provide. So that is like you sending confusing signals to the
Yeah.
universe. So sometimes it's like it's really embodying that I'm ready to receive this clients, this relationship, this money, and really, really mean it. So I know sometimes it's like there's a underlining current that is running that's like, we're ready to receive, but let me just do all the things on the background just to make sure.
Hmm. It's interesting because I love looking up the etymology of words. I think that that's a very great way to understand our reality. And deserve, I believe the etymology is to serve. So, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm pretty sure it's something where it's like you deserve because you have served, right?
Yeah.
And so there's something to that because we can't just, come out the womb. I mean, unless you are born from millionaires or you have like generational wealth, a lot of people don't come out the womb and then have everything handed to them. So there is something to be said about getting into alignment, making sure that you are activating your gifts, making sure that you are actualizing your skills, your talents, you are working on your craft, and you're doing stuff that lights you up. Again, it doesn't feel like work, but you're in the game of being in this energy of receiving. And that is not going to feel like work. It's just going to feel like service. Like this right now, this doesn't feel like work, but someone else could be like, why would I do that? That's so much work. Setting up a podcast, planning interviews with people, that's so much work. But when it's in your alignment and when it's in your calling, this is like, no, I'm serving. And so this is a perfect example of how creativity can translate into opportunities because you're serving without it feeling like effort. It just feels like a conversation and it feels in alignment.
Yeah. And I recently heard the saying, somebody was reflecting about when you go into anything, like for example, like me right now getting into this podcast with you, or me, for example, like 5 years later, going or 6 years later, started to go live on Instagram to share about spirituality. Like I'm comparing how I was, let's say 5 years ago, 6 years ago versus how I am now. And the energy of like going live into something. I don't know what kind of questions you're going to ask me. Or when I go live on Instagram, I don't know who's going to like log in, say something. Maybe there's going to be a mean comment. I realized, and it's so true for me, and I've heard this from somebody sharing. It's like when you go into something with an idea that you need to get something from that. For example, let me get on a podcast with you because I'm going to get clients from whoever's going to listen to it. You're going to feel fear and you're going to have this energy of like lack. I'm only doing it because I need to get something from it. Right. When you go into something, and God is my witness, like going into this podcast, there was like zero, any of the worries, fears, any of the emotions that would be like, I need to do this podcast. None of it. I want to do this podcast because I want to serve and I want to share. It lands very differently. And this is the frequency that people feel. Think
Yeah.
about any of the pop star. When Beyonce get on stage, she doesn't think about any of those thousands of people watching her, that she needs the validation, she needs the approval, she needs anything from them. She's in that moment serving God, her highest self, being at her highest alignment, deepest expression, right? She just on that stage being herself, loving what she does without expecting people to whatever. They're already there, they're already watching her. She's on that stage because she is loving what she does and she's serving God in that way. So there's no fear. But when you go on that stage, when you go into the podcast, when you try to go on live, this is what going back to the visibility, because you're a visibility coach. Why people are afraid to do all of this? Because there is something that's a conditioning, a belief that I'm gonna only do this because I need to get something from it. When this is like
Yeah.
the first thing that's like leading, not, I believe in abundance. I believe in an energy exchange, right? Like, but let the universe take care of that.
Exactly. And the universe is always taking care of
It
it.
does.
This is like putting, even if you're not intentionally doing it to receive anything, that it goes into this bank of like how you have served.
Yes.
It's going to
Yes.
be repaid somehow. And yeah, that's
Sure, for sure. Like for me, even like sometimes I mentor, sometimes I do a lot of things. I'm sharing a lot of information openly, free, right? sometimes I think about like my daughter had somebody that gave her great advice, like I was a great mentor in college. Like I know somehow it will get back to my kids. It will get it somehow work. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be one for one. I gave you, you gave me, but in a beautiful way, in a tapestry of life, it always works out. And that's the saying, the work that you do impacts 7 generations forward.
Mm, I love that.
7 generations forward. So even if I don't get in this lifetime a thank you from somebody who benefited from my work in some way, shape, or form, that maybe there was silence, whatever, followers, I don't care. I'm
And
gonna
I also believe, yeah, I think that the work that you do on yourself in this lifetime elevates your consciousness for the next lifetime. If you believe in reincarnation, you get to transfer
100%,
that to the next lifetime,
100%. That's the only thing you take with you. The
your
wisdom,
consciousness.
the consciousness. It's like this chalice, the chalice, like it's a drop. Every single lifetime is like a drop into your chalice of wisdom. That's the only thing you take with you, nothing else.
And that's why I love telling people like you're being watched right now in the quantum field when you're choosing to binge a show for 8 hours versus do the workout, show up, be seen, help, serve. Like everything is being seen and cemented in time in this lifetime for you in a quantum way. And if for anyone who's seen the movie Soul, you can see this when they die and the soul goes to the quantum field and you can see different moments that are cemented in time in this
I know.
liminal space. You're like, oh, that was when I was 4 and I was playing piano. Oh, that. So imagine everything that you're doing is actually crystallized in time in this lifetime that you can rewind when you are out of this world. So,
Exactly. There is a witness observer, which is us. And I started to really feel that after 9/11. When I was walking around downtown Manhattan, I always felt that somebody's watching me. And then later on, like if I wouldn't be a coach, I should probably be like a director of the movies because I love that concept of like all these different pieces. I feel our soul is like a director of a movie and it's always watching us. It's a dreamer of our dream. It's a witness observer of our reality. And it's actually a very good practice during the day to connect to that part of us. That's very like neutral, no judgment, very still. In that stillness, when you connect to that, you realize like I want to be the best version of me, living in this highest potential because I want my soul to be proud of me and like witness
mhm.
me going through these experiences because yes, I add wisdom, the drops of wisdom into my own chalice and also in a collective. And I believe like everybody who's going to be listening to our podcast, just by knowing how like attracts the like and the law of attraction, all of us here sign up to be big part of this great awakening, this inception point that we are going through right now on earth. There is absolutely no
Yeah.
way that somebody would listen to it if there would be. You part of this
Yeah.
team, right? These souls, indigo souls, 144,000 souls, whatever you want to believe, right? Like we're part of that collective that came to a planet to help, but how would we would help? We help through our personal journeys.
Mm,
Kind of created these scenarios, chose the lineages, the parents, everything that will
mm.
serve exactly how we can contribute of becoming alchemist, of transforming darkness to light.
Yes. It makes me think of the intro of Sailor Moon when they're flying in from different planets and coming to Earth as like Sailor Moon, Mars, Mercury, and then they're like fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by
The
daylight.
biggest party in the universe is on earth right now.
Yeah.
Welcome, people. This is where it's at
Yeah. I
right now.
agree.
Right now. So if you get stuck sometimes in the minutia of life and you need to pay this bill or this client didn't call you back or your child did something, zoom out.
Yeah. Zoom out, know that you're here, you're doing the work, you're here for a reason, and your frequency is what is shifting things
And
for
it's your
us.
currency. Your frequency is your currency.
And I wanted to ask, you said that you left 15 minutes before the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Was that an intuitive nudge? Like, what do you reflect on that? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I worked across the street from World Trade Center. So we my subway station was under World Trade Center. So every morning I would go through that. So it was like every day I would do that. But that particular day, we came earlier to work because me with my husband and boyfriend, we had our first vacation to Spain, Barcelona, and we flew back on September 10th. And on September 11th, we said like, let's go earlier to work. And so that, because we were on vacation for 2 weeks before that. That was like first day back. It's good that we actually flew back to New York because then the flights were all canceled for like weeks and weeks. We
True.
would get stuck in Spain. So we came back on the 10th. On the 11th, we were coming back to work. We came in early because we needed to drop a film because there was no iPhones back then. We still had our camera and the actual film that I went to a photo studio to drop. That was like next to the World Trade Center. So we dropped that film there, and then we got a coffee and we got to the office earlier that day. And this is when we saw like, oh my God, like this is where the plane got hit. So that day, I didn't lose anything. I gained so much more of an understanding of myself. And actually 6 months later, I got a call from a photo studio that said, we just like got ourselves from all this rubble and we have your pictures.
Wow.
Imagine. So yeah, I know I'm so guided. I'm so protected. I'm here for a big thing. My soul will not let me leave this place yet. I feel so guided, protected, and in those moments you just appreciate it much more because you're like, thank you, God, that I was like, divinely protected in that instance. And it made me very much start asking big questions. What is this whole world about? Why am I here? What are we here for? What do we go after we die? Where do we come from? Yeah, so
Very
it was
important
a very
questions to
interesting
ask.
experience, very interesting experience, but
For women who want to walk away from this podcast feeling like an elevated sense of self-worth,
mhm.
what kind of actionable, tangible practices would you give them, especially when it comes to like the quantum healing? Because I love how you said at a certain level, when you're a very high achiever, it's not about mindset anymore. It's not even about like embodiment. It's about quantum level healing. And that gets into like very woo woo topics.
Yeah,
But what would you tell these women who are just like, I want to elevate my level of self worth. I want to stop over functioning. I don't want to reach burnout. I want to be in alignment. What would you give them?
yeah. Yeah, if we're gonna go deep into the energetic work, because this is actually where it's at, a lot of women carry a lot of those wounds of unworthiness in the womb, in that
Mm,
second chakra, in a sacral.
mm,
So I believe in this idea of a feminine arc, which is if we're to talk about energetics, there's three chakras that's related to the feminine energy, which is our womb, the 2, 4, and 6. Our womb, our heart, and a third eye. And this is called the
mm,
feminine arc. So when you start healing those parts of you and activating those parts of you, you start connecting to this more of like who you are, this energetic field around you, your aura, your morphogenetic field, like all of those things that are like unseen, but they are who you are. And I know that very soon spirituality is going to be known as science. It's not just some woo woo, it's actually for very evolved people. And people that are practicing that should never feel ashamed by being spiritual. It's for people who have high consciousness because I worked with a lot of people on Wall Street who have high IQ and low wisdom, not a high consciousness.
yeah.
So it's different things, right? So I really invite women to invest their time, their energy in knowing themselves energetically and do energetic work because that's really going to help you feel that confident and feel that worthiness aside from just doing mindset work. I know there's like a lot of confidence coaches that teach you how to stand tall, your shoulders back, like all these things that you can do with your body that yes help, but unless you go and do the energetic work on clearing any stuck emotions, anything that could be within your field preventing you from feeling alive, from feeling radiant, from feeling worthy and confident. It is an energetic work.
How can someone know if they have stuck emotions? How would they even begin? Like, would they just get those downloads in meditation, or would they be able to know, oh, right now I have a lot of shame in my
Yes.
aura, I have a lot of fear in my aura? If they don't know or can't label the emotion, how do they figure that out?
Well, it is life will show you, because and how you feel will show you, because your emotional state of being is exactly the navigation system you need. Are you feeling ashamed about something? Right? Are you feeling guilt about something? All of these emotions, they sit before they get to our organs, before we get anything, any chronic diseases, cancer, anything physically in our body. It's first generated on an energetic field and an emotional field. Our anger sits in our liver. Our shame sits in our womb. Our guilt sits in our kidneys. Our resentment sits in our lungs and our heart, right? So all these organs could be carrying certain things. So if you already have symptoms on the physical, it started with emotional. So I always advise women, do not get to have physical issues with anything. And especially with women, how many women are right now having issues with like PMS, all sorts of issues when it comes to a woman's cycles? Just because it's common, it doesn't mean it's normal.
I agree.
It's not, just because everybody's experiencing it. So it is about healing. Healing happens on so many levels. It can happen on a physical level, right? Even knowing your getting the blood work done and knowing what your gaps are and trying to bridge them, that you're missing a supplement, that you're missing something,
Mhm.
right? Self-love even starts there with like healing yourself physically, then healing yourself emotionally, having a practice where you can process your emotions. If you're feeling suppressed anger, if you really want to say something, if you're living with a partner who you're angry at, but you're numbing yourself, have a practice where you take a pill every morning and you hit it hard, right? Great way to move emotions is through dance. I do a lot of somatic practices where I could just, sometimes I'm feeling heavy. I close the computer, I put the music on, I start shaking, I
Mhm.
start saying gibberish, I start moving my hips, I start kicking and screaming and doing stuff like that. 5 minutes in, wow, then I can sit and meditate. Sometimes it's very hard for Western women to sit and meditate right away, because we first have to connect with the body. And sometimes it's doing this energetic kind of release and then sit and meditate. Right. So to answer your question, I mean, it's a very long question, because I can spend hours and hours explaining that, but your emotions will tell you where you could have blockages. Your physical reality can tell you where you can have blockages. Your relationship can show you where you abandon yourself and can have blockages. Basically, trauma, basically any stuck emotions is when you don't process it at time. Like animals, if like I see them, my dog, when he goes outside, when I go outside with him for a walk and there's another dog barking at him and they have like an argument, walks away, right away he shakes it off.
Mhm.
Wouldn't do that. You have an argument with a boss, you're not shaking it off, you numbing it down.
And it's getting cemented into your aura.
Exactly. And then from aura, it goes from etheric body, it goes into the physical body. So the idea
Mm.
is to heal it while it's still in the aura, while it's still in your emotional body, in your spiritual body, so it doesn't go into the physical. Because
And
once it
so,
gets to physical, it's harder to heal it.
yeah, exactly. So you would say use the physical to heal the etheric?
It's both. It's both, because sometimes we already have things within our physical. It sits actually traumas, they sit in a fascia.
Mhm.
I don't know how many times when I was in the beginning of my journey, I would go to the massage, I would cry. Every time when I'm on the table, I'm weeping. Because as they move you through your body, and if you have this music, nice music on, essential oils, I'm having this whole healing experience. I'm
Yes.
crying because as she massaging me through my fascia, and and because I have a very great awareness and intuition, it's like telling me what I'm processing. I may have memory come up. I'm healing on that massage table. That massage therapist has no idea that she's doing all this healing work on me. But if I'm connected with me, I know I'm healing, I'm releasing. So you could release through so many different ways. Help yourself from all the levels. Go to the sauna when you're releasing, through sweat, some of the stuckiness within you. Go for a run, go for the nature run, right? In
Hmm.
nature, where you can release a lot of different things. So it's working on different levels to make yourself whole.
And would you say that the etheric way of healing is through quantum meditation?
It's through quantum meditation and also through energetic work. Sometimes you can, like I am, for example, I'm a Reiki master, I'm a Kundalini Reiki master. I also work with Acturians. So sometimes I call in this higher frequency, like kind of putting you in a chamber where I can heal you energetically, right? Sometimes you can learn those things yourself and heal yourself as well. But in the beginning, I would really suggest, if you are someone on a healing journey, aside from having a business coach, an astrology reader, a psychic who does your tarot cards, invest in an energy healing as well. It comes hand in hand because it is within us. But I also believe, and this is what I do with women when I do one-on-one mentorship, I teach them how to be a self-healer. I don't want to be your healer for years and years and years. I want to teach you, I want to help you in the beginning, but then also give you tools on how you can do it yourself and how you can do it on your kids and how you can do it on your dog. And
Yeah, that's
impact everyone.
beautiful.
It's such a skill that women need, and every single woman have those abilities. We're all naturally born healers.
I agree. I agree. And I think that's beautiful that you were talking about the feminine arc and the chakras because I feel like a huge point of healing for women is the vocal, is the voice. So I feel like your voice heals yourself too. So if ever you're feeling like, oh, everything is suppressed, sometimes I just give the prescription, the spiritual prescription of opening a book and reading it out loud
Yes.
until you get out just your voice and just read any book you love. Read 5, 6 pages out loud, and you'll be like, wow, oh my God, my internal organs feel better just
Yes.
speaking. Because if you don't
Yes.
have words, in your own mind, reading someone else's words kind of gets you to practice that out
Yeah.
loud. So that's really beautiful. Uh, did you want to share any last nuggets of wisdom, if you will, for women listening to this about feminine energy or any last message you have about this?
Yeah. I want to really women understand that and feel into the bones that anything that I shared today, you have within you. Every single woman. I'm just here to help you remember. And this is what these podcasts are for, right? To help women remember. And I really wish that women invest in the feminine energy. It's not weakness, it's not just softness, it's the power. It's such a power. And that's why we started this conversation with saying that feminine energy is the new strategy. It is your competitive edge, it is your gift. It's going to open up so many new things for you and possibilities in who you can be and experience this life. And I think we're all subconsciously looking for that fulfillment. When we connect with that divine feminine energy within us, this is where that fulfillment comes. And it's so beautiful because you start walking this beauty way. Like it's really walking the beauty way, not just externally seeing the beauty, but finding that beauty within you. So for every woman that is listening, I would really, really hope that you, from this conversation, you take away that feminine energy is not just something not valuable. It's so valuable and it's so worth your time, so worth your investment, so worth everything that you can put into it now, because the benefits of doing this work will ripple into your life, your children's life, and every single person that will come into contact with you. Everyone will be impacted by your state of being, that essence that's within you already. It's just you need to remember that. Really bring compassion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I actually saw a piece of your work on your Instagram where you were talking about how a lot of the times women are feeling these negative emotions or lower states of emotions because of other people's energy that is connected to their aura and
Yeah.
usually connected to the womb. And you
Yes.
said that like partners, life partners that you have slept with actually stay connected to your womb for like 7 years. And I
Yes.
was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So is there a way to expedite that process to
Yes.
get it
It's
out
it's
of your
it's
field?
7 years if you don't do anything to it, but if you consciously can cut the cords,
Mm,
and it's just we are so powerful in the way we can declare things. Like going back to what you said about the voice, reading from the book or whatever, we can declare. We can declare that with your voice. You could just say things and like feel the conviction in what you're saying,
Mm.
right? You can cut the cords, you can do whatever you want if you declare it. So I really invite women to use that queen energy and just say, I decree and declare that
So I command this cord to
I
be cut
right
right now.
XYZ, I cut the cords, I like not just cutting the cords, it's also releasing them with forgiveness, with that you don't really have to like forgive people, because sometimes people really hurt you, but you have to forgive yourself for getting yourself into that situation, and
Hmm.
really let go and release people from your life that is no longer there. Because I feel a lot of women going back not feeling worthy. You don't know how many energetic cords could be attached to people
Siphoning.
who continue
Hmm.
softening and draining your energy
Yeah.
without you consciously realizing it. So healing that part is essential. So it is a cutting cords. It's you can decree and declare cutting cords with people. Envision yourself in a white light. I also love to use the tool, the alchemy tool, such as roses, like etheric roses. This is something I've learned through my Rose Temple teachings. This is what we were taught when we were priestesses in Avalon, in south of France, in Lemuria, in Atlantis. We had all these tools and we knew all these things. So remember them. Do
So what was that about the roses?
you
How
just
do you do that?
envision roses like you would envision golden sticky rose vacuuming out any of the negativity, and then you are sending that rose again through your third eye. Envision visualization is the key. Like once you visualize something, you don't have to be clairvoyant to actually see it, because a lot of us are not clairvoyant. Like for example, I'm a claircognizant. I just know things. I don't necessarily have to see them, but you can envision a rose placed in your womb, vacuuming out any negative energies. You can call in on your higher self for assistance to, curate through the experience. And then you're sending it out to the field, quantum field, and blowing out and returning the energy alchemized into gold back to the sender. You don't want to send negative energy back. You don't want to continue creating karma.
Yeah,
Transmute the energy first into light, and then you send it back. Let the universe take care of how they're going to receive it.
I agree. Thank you. What is the just these last couple of
Yeah.
questions? What is the worst advice that you've ever received?
Worst advice. Wow, it's hard for me to even say that. Interesting. I don't think I've received like worst advice, but I've been definitely derailed into false light teachings. I was definitely on my path. That's why it's so good to find a mentor, find a teacher who already went through those mouse traps before you.
Mm. Can you give a couple of examples of what false light would look like,
Like
or the traps that you fell in?
somebody say, "Oh, I'm gonna do Akashic reading for you," and they tell you things, and you're like, and you believe it. And then you're like, why did you trust that person to say you those things? Or like listening to somebody. That's what I don't do anymore. Like I don't listen to any channelers. When people say like, oh, they have this channeler take over the body and say things, I'm like, wow, you don't know who's taking over your body.
Yeah. I mean,
I
take what resonates, right?
Exactly. Take what resonates, leaves what doesn't. But sometimes you would believe what people say, especially in the beginning of your journey. When you go through knowing that you were completely lied by education system, government, like you lived whole life as a lie. You open you up, you awaken, and you're like, oh my God, now with the spiritual circles, let me start listening to what they have to say. And I'm sure everything they have to say is true. There's a lot of
Yeah,
false light.
exactly. Like, just look at it as this is the advice they're giving. If it resonates, I'll follow it. If not, oh, that's a funny projection that they just shared with me based on their own perception and life and
Exactly.
channeling.
But in the beginning of your journey, it's hard to discern. That's why
Yeah,
it goes
exactly.
back for me to say the number one skill everybody has to right now work on is the discernment, to really know
Mm-hmm.
what's true and what's not, because this is where it can get really tricky. So it's not necessarily that somebody gave me like a direct advice, but I definitely listened to certain people that I was maybe influenced in a way. But I also believe that everything works out for the best. Like everything works out, that it's like, that's just how it's meant to be. So
And what is the best advice that you've ever received?
The best advice is everything that I'm looking for is within me. Everything that I'm longing for is within me, and I'm it. Like I'm it, not in any arrogant way, but in a very self-love, self-worth, self-belief kind of way that everything I ever need is within me. And sometimes it's hard in the beginning of the journey to say, like, okay, look within, look where. Where exactly are we looking?
Yeah.
It's
I just see
within.
all this trauma.
Right. It's within that, that potential that you have, your higher self. It's your soul. And going back to that quote that I love by Rumi, the desire to know your soul will end all other desires.
Mm,
It
yes.
just will.
How can people work with you if they want to work with you?
So I work with people one on one, and I recently opened a community on school.
Ooh,
Yeah, called
congratulations.
Awakened Women Academy, where I share a lot of things. Um, it's free access. So you can
Ooh, nice.
join, yes, you can join the community. There's the different master classes and practices you can access. There are going to be different levels to it. I just opened a few weeks ago. So there are going to be different levels to it. Like if somebody wants to be in my inner circle, it would be a paid membership. But you can just get into my sphere, into my work, absolutely free. Join the community because this is my contribution to women. Because when I was going through the journey myself 10 years ago, it was very lonely. It was very lonely and I didn't know a lot of things and I was looking left and right. And sometimes, as I said, like you derail in a way, you listen to people that maybe were not fully embodied in what they were sharing.
Hmm.
Um, Listen to your heart, listen to my frequency, listen if you resonate with everything that I've shared. If I can be, again, there's no gurus. I don't believe in gurus. The only guru is within. And I want to help women remember and activate that guru within, the intuition, the oracle, the wise woman, the higher self, the goddess that they
Hmm.
have within themselves, so that they can, thrive in life and really live this life in joy, in beauty, in abundance, in all these Venus kind of energies. I really wish this for all the women. So
Yay.
join
And
my
what's your
free
Instagram?
community. So join my free community if you'd like, or I can work with people one on one as well.
And your Instagram is what's your handle?
Elena Visionary.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Elena, for
Thank you
sharing
so
all of your goddess wisdom. This was so beautiful, and I know that it will help so many women.
Thank
So
you so
thank you so
much for
much.
inviting me. I love to share all of this. Thank you.
Yay. And we'll see you next week, goddesses, for the next episode.